Hey, it's Alec Torelli from Conscious Poker. In this video, we're going to talk about 5 decision-making tips that I've learned playing poker, frameworks you can use to apply to life and business in 5 minutes. I'm really excited to announce this because these are takeaways and tips that I've been using for a long time and helped with clients as well. And I'm now put together in a course. You can learn more about it at consciouspoker.com/decision-making, or click the link in the description below, hop on the wait list, and you'll be first to know when it goes live. So I'm really excited for this. But first, let's dive in. The first framework I've learned from poker is the meta framework. It's how to make decisions. I talk about this in my courses and my videos as well, about having a process for decision making helps you make better decisions. In poker, that process is comprised of 4 steps, and I've learned this through my own thought process and codifying it over time. So this idea that what I first try and do is figure out what types of hands my opponent are holding, and then I try and figure out their strong hands versus their weak hands. Then I look at the pot odds and I figure out what price is the pot giving me, and then I calculate whether or not my chance of winning is greater than my odds. When it is, I call. When it's not, I fold. That's a basic framework that I use for decision making in poker. And in the real world, this decision-making framework is quite actually similar. And I've modeled my real-life decision-making framework, whether it's for investing or starting a new project or deciding to go on to a conference or whatever I'm trying to think about. I use the same framework. It's calculate the risk, right? What is the worst thing that can happen? What's the most I can lose? What is the reward? What is the upside? I determine the probability of an outcome, and then I decide what to do. And that framework has really helped me in life. Decision-making framework number 2 is asymmetry. This principle that you really want to look for situations in life where you have a managed downside, where you can lose a little bit, where your downside is contained. It's very small, and you get comfortable with that downside. You plan your risk so that whatever happens, you're comfortable and contained, and you're managing your risk appropriately, that you can afford that downside risk. But on the upside, you're looking for situations where there's a huge delta. There's a big gap between the upside, which is big, and the downside, which is small. That principle is called asymmetry. So when in poker, whether you're deciding whether or not to play a certain hand, you want to look for hands that have the opportunity where you can call a few bets or call one bet, you can see the next few cards. If you miss your hand, you lose that initial bet, but if you hit your hand, you could win the entirety of your opponent's stack. And those are great hands to play. Those hands like pocket pairs or suited connectors, those are some of the most profitable hands. And in the same vein, in real life, I believe you want to look for situations, whether it's investing or relationships or like an opportunity where there's not that big of a downside and you're containing that downside and you know you can just get away from it if the situation doesn't manifest into what you want, but the upside is huge if things go your way. The third principle I learned is to evaluate your play. There's a great quote that says, what gets measured gets managed. And I really believe that's true. So many people go through poker in life just playing the game. And that's why people plateau, in my opinion. You've seen people in poker play for 20 years and they're the same level of player they were 20 years ago. Why? Because they play a lot, they don't study a lot. And there's always something that we can do to improve, and poker has really taught me that. There's always more that I don't know than what I do know. And so after every session I play, before I play another session, I review my play. I ask myself the hard questions. I look analytically at my game. I have other people review my play with me and critique it and take it apart. I study with friends. I'm my own harshest critic. So instead of playing 100% of the time, I play 80% of the time and use that other 20% to make that 80% better. So I spend 20% of my time studying, and that makes a world of difference. And in life as well, I believe we can do that. We can analyze our decisions. We can look back and say, hey, what are the things that I'm doing well, and where am I making good decisions, and where do I need to make decisions that are better? And if you could just look to improve and analyze that, you're going to notice a world of difference in your overall results and outcome. Framework number 4 is choosing starting hands wisely. Most players, the mistake they make is they play too many hands. And it's also true in life as well. They just take too many opportunities. They say yes to too many things, and their focus is scattered all over the place. So I think in poker, people play way too many hands pre-flop. They get in a lot of trouble situations. And if you look later on down the line, like if you look at the big decisions people make on the river or why they make big mistakes in big pots, is because they chose to play those same 2 hands pre-flop. And it's so true in life as well. People find themselves in all sorts of precarious situations because they didn't fold early on enough. And so you want to look for hands in situations where it doesn't cost a lot to play and you could play those initial 2 cards, But if things don't turn out the way you want, you can fold right away. You rarely want to continue when you're playing a hand. You want to choose those hands wisely. Rarely continue when you do, but when you find your hand, when you find that right moment, that's when you want to fire. You want to be super aggressive and you want to go all in. So you're kind of like a tiger, a cheetah waiting to pounce. You're just sitting there very, very patient, but when you find the right opportunity, that's when you go all in. The fifth framework I learned is to play the long game. Luck in the short term can really screw with your head. And I think we need to learn to embrace the fact that in poker and in life, there's a big element of luck. And so if we're measuring our results in the short term, it really screws up with our head and it can lead us astray. And it's important to zoom out and look at the big picture and realize that over a long period of time, our results typically mimic and reflect the quality of our decisions. And I think this teaches us to become resilient. If we just show up every day and let the cards fall where they may, that's a great framework to have. So I think people think they need motivation to do something and they need inspiration. But I think inspiration and motivation come from action. And if we just show up every day, we work in minutes, but we measure in months, that's when the great things happen. And I've noticed that in my poker journey as well. It's been super, super helpful. So I hope you enjoyed this mini series of these takeaways and frameworks I've learned playing poker. Head over to consciouspoker.com/decision-making to learn more. Click the link in the description. Let me know which decision-making framework is your favorite. If you have questions, more content's coming here. Subscribe to the channel. And thanks you guys for your support. I'll see you in the next one.